The Colossal's showing how good a Pokemon it is throughout this tournament. You know, it has just kind of fallen a little bit to the ground on the last one, but still got another chance to kind of come back in this Players' Cup and make another mark going into this next match.
Well, let's jump into round one and see exactly how our players are going to face down against each other. Remember, this is day 2 of the region finals. The competition is certainly heating up. Gabriel Agati is going to lead out with Zacian and Rillaboom, but on the opposing side of the field, for Alejandro, we're going to see the Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and the Indeedee, an amazing combination he was able to pilot phenomenally yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in terms of terrain here, Lee.
Yeah, because the slower Pokemon between the Rillaboom and the Indeedee will get their terrain up, and that will really dictate what's happening. And you can see here that Gabriel has trained his Rillaboom very slow to ensure of these situations where it can have the grassy terrain overwriting that psychic terrain, which makes it that much more difficult for Calyrex to really get a kind of an easy handle on the match with the psychic terrain up. Now the Rillaboom has access to Fake Out. It can really start to disrupt something like the Indeedee, prevent the support option there. But you've got to keep in mind as well for Alejandro, if you can kind of predict that and you don't mind the grassy terrain being up, you can go for a helping hand and still get some utility out of your Indeedee that will bypass, that will hit, you know, go off before the Fake Out's able to kind of prevent the Indeedee from attacking. And then you've got the freedom then to max the Calyrex and go after something like the Zacian here, or the Rillaboom of your choosing if you're Alejandro.
Exactly, and we're going to see a very dynamic start to this game here, Lee. We are going to see the G-Max Rillaboom come out into the fray. A Gigantamax form we have not seen so far in the broadcast from our side of things, Lee. And it's always great to see this Pokemon come out into the action, and particularly with the grassy terrain in play, it's going to be dealing some really, really big damage. Zacian able to go for the Protect here, so not going to be taking any damage from the Pokemon on Alejandro's side of the field, and Indeedee going to try and redirect in any of the moves that this Rillaboom wants to make, just protecting up that Calyrex Shadow Rider a little bit more. The Astral Barrage, we know it attacks both Pokemon on the opposing side of the field, but Zacian wisely protecting from it. Rillaboom, however, not so lucky, and it deals a huge chunk of damage. With that critical hit, it takes about 1/3 of damage into the Rillaboom. Rillaboom is able to go for the Max Strike, and I really like this play here. Max Strike obviously would not be able to go into the Calyrex due to its typing, but the Indeedee, however, it's going to be able to connect on that Pokemon and then lower the speed of the opposing side of the field.
Yeah, really nice way to approach this for Gabriel. You know, the last thing I expected was the Rillaboom to go for that Gigantamax, but it makes a lot of sense. You've got the terrain up, you're kind of boosting your own attacks, and the ability to reduce the speed here was quite, you know, beautifully done, going for that Indeedee. You can't attack, like you said, into the Calyrex Shadow Rider because of its Ghost type, and it's immune to those normal type attacks, but you can utilize the fact that the Indeedee's there and reduce the speed of the Calyrex and really hinder its ability to perform as well, because it really relies on that speed stat to kind of be the most kind of the fastest thing in the field to get that damage out first. But we are seeing Alejandro react to this, with giving Gabriel maybe a little opening here as he is switching that out for later on in this game.
Yeah, actually doing some big switches here. We're going to see Whimsicott and Rotom join the action. Whimsicott with this prankster ability, maybe wanting to take advantage of the fact that there is no psychic terrain on the fray. Maybe can go for some taunts here or there as well and be disruptive. But it's going to be the Behemoth Blade coming out from Gabriel's Zacian into the Rotom. And a really great switcher by Alejandro. Rotom with its typing going to be able to take that much better than the Indeedee would have been able to. We're going to see the Max Darkness come out, however, into the Whimsicott, breaking the Focus Sash on that item. On that Pokemon, so leaving it a little bit more vulnerable going forward. And I think critically as well, getting these special defense drops, depending on what Gabriel has got in the back, that could come in critical a little bit later on. But Rillaboom at the moment, you know, it looked relatively unchecked previously, but having Rotom here on the field, depending on how the speeds are, Rotom looks to be able to apply a lot of pressure to both of the Pokemon on Gabriel's side.
Yeah, what a fantastic switch by Alejandro. He's completely flipped all of the momentum that was on Gabriel's side of the field back into his favor now. He's got access to that Tailwind on the Whimsicott with the Prankster ability, going to be able to guarantee he gets that speed control up, and then putting the Rotom Heat in a great position against both of these fire-weak Pokemon. Both the Rillaboom isn't going to want to take an overheat, and definitely the Zacian won't either. So, you know, as I say, Alejandro going to be able to get at least some damage on the field if he wants to, and that damage is really imperative for later on in this game when you're kind of setting up that Shadow Rider Calyrex to come in and really utilize the Astral Barrage double attack damage.
Some really interesting plays here from Gabriel, deciding to retreat out the Rillaboom and brings in the Colossal. Now, considering we saw the Gigantamax on that Rillaboom, I wasn't sure the Colossal was potentially in the back. It's not often brought unless it is going to be utilized as that sort of Gigantamax Pokemon. So great to see it here coming into the fray, and it's certainly a Pokemon that's going to be able to deal with this Rotom better than that Rillaboom would have been able to. Alejandro capitalizing on the fact that Rotom is a good threat at the moment and Dynamaxing up. Whimsicott's going to help out as well by boosting up the speed to give Alejandro that speed advantage with the Tailwind. Rotom going to go for that Max Flare. It's actually going to target down into the Zacian that stayed in on the field. Oh, was that a clean KO?
Looks very... No, it looks like this is Zacian hung on. Has it?
Yes.
It has. It hung on. What? That is... I can't believe it actually hung on. Super effective attack coming off a Dynamax Rotom Heat here. Gabriel's trained this Zacian extremely well here. There was a part of me that was worried there, Lou, that we're going to see the Max Flare into the Colossal slot there, and that would activate that Steam Engine ability, which would not be great for Alejandro going forward, but thankfully into the Zacian slot. But the surprise hang on there from the Zacian just shows how well it's trained. Unfortunately, a little bit too much damage there to get the substitute off, but the right idea from Gabriel, and kind of preserving the Rillaboom for later, preserving the terrain more importantly for when that Indeedee and the Calyrex Shadow Rider come back in. It's a really smart play. You're kind of sacrificing your Gigantamax turns or your Dynamax turns, you know, there, but it's well worth it because you need to look at the end goal in these matches. It's not just about this one particular turn, it's about the overall result in this match, and such a high stakes match, you know, every turn counts.
It certainly does. Whimsicott able to go for the Taunt here into that opposing Colossal. Just going to stop it going for any protects, leaving itself a little bit more vulnerable and exposed in these next couple of turns. Zacian is going to find itself the target of another one of those Max Flares, easily going to be able to pick up the KO, and it's a shame that Zacian wasn't able to capitalize on it, survive in the last turn, maybe deal out some damage while it could. Colossal, however, also going to take advantage of the sun in the sky, connect its Heat Wave, manages to find a KO against that opposing Whimsicott, but only deals a little bit to Rotom, and I think Alejandro still has a good positioning here with that Rotom in play. Yes, Colossal can still apply pressure to it, but the fact that you know Colossal can't protect does allow Alejandro maybe the opportunity to bring in a Pokemon to stand side by side with that Rotom and apply some pressure to deal with Colossal to allow Rotom to keep doing what it's doing.
Yeah, and the perfect Pokemon here is that Calyrex, and it makes sense to bring it in now because you don't want to bring the Indeedee in just yet, just in case the Rillaboom either comes in and overrides your terrain or is still active in the back for Gabriel and kind of comes in and overrides it. You want to kind of leave that terrain wall as late as you can to kind of win that, so you've got the dominant terrain that you kind of would preferably like. But yeah, in a great position. Alejandro's still got that Tailwind up. He's still using this very offensive approach to this match, and it is quickly starting to overwhelm Gabriel. He hasn't got access to that Colossal to Gigantamax anymore, you know. It is gonna have to stay in its regular form, but perfect partner coming in for it right now in the Urshifu, which does have access to that Aqua Jet. The sun is kind of benefiting that, so the damage isn't going to be as much, and it is going to be able to activate that Steam Engine ability here, as well as the weakness policy, and really start making that Colossal a big threat once again.
I mean, this is the thing, Colossal can't Dynamax. We've already seen that utilized on the Rillaboom, but the fact that you might be able to have a Heat Wave in Sun, weakness policy boosted, and be super speedy still applies a threat to the opposing Rotom and Calyrex. Rotom, we know, doesn't take too much damage, but with the weakness policy boost, it could certainly put it in range for one of the Pokemon on Gabriel Agati's side of the field to maybe try and pick up a KO later on. It does also leave the Calyrex kind of vulnerable to taking this big amount of damage, but we know the Heat Wave Sun can sometimes miss, Lee.
Yeah, that's always the case as well. You know, it is a risky move. The other thing is, even if you get the Steam Engine activated, is it really going to be enough? Oh, that is a huge miss. The Mud Shot into the Colossal. It does avoid, and it gives Colossal another turn to fire off for an attack here.
Oh, so unfortunate there for the miss. Not going to be able to find its mark. But critically here as well, going for that Max Lightning down into the Urshifu. Even though it did protect, you see the huge amount of damage that it actually was able to do, and it critically broke some potential Focus Sash on that Urshifu. The miss as well. They're coming left, right, and center at the moment here, Lee. The Heat Wave unable to find its mark on the Calyrex, but does a little bit of damage to Rotom. But Rotom, it's got that little berry in its back pocket. It's able to regain that HP very, very quickly.
Yeah, we get the one miss from the Mud Shot, and then in return kind of evening up things with the Heat Wave miss onto the Calyrex there. So going into this next turn, Calyrex going to be in a great position, you know, to be able to knock out the Urshifu here and get some good damage onto the Colossal. The Rotom, it is there, it's present. It's not really putting the pressure onto Colossal, because Colossal still got the sun active, and you've got to worry as well all the time about a potential Aqua Jet here into the Colossal, because it is a play that Gabriel can go for here. And those Heat Waves with the weakness policy boost are going to be, you know, they're still going to be hitting very hard, even though the Rotom does resist them. It's not Dynamaxed anymore, so it still will be taking considerable damage with the Sun kind of boosting those.
Yeah, that's very true. The Sun really is being kind of one of the pivotal roles in this game at the moment, boosting up the fire attacks on, I guess, both sides of the field as well. There's Heat Waves coming out from the Colossal and the Max Flares coming out from the Rotom. Rillaboom, however, is going to join the fray over at that electric terrain. Of course, Rotom can't really benefit from the electric terrain anyway, not being a grounded Pokemon, so Rillaboom's going to come in here and be like, this is how to utilize the terrain. I'm going to be able to do more damage with my grass type moves because of this. The Mud Shot this time finds its mark, does a huge amount of damage to the Colossal, actually manages to pick up the KO against it. Absolute devastation of the damage there coming out from Calyrex, and critically, it's going to be able to get that Grimnade boost as well, and boost up its special attack and make it even more formidable going forward. Rotom going for that Thunderbolt. Rillaboom not going to worry about taking this too much, but of course that little bit of chip as well is going to start dwindling away at these Pokemon. But I think Alejandro having that Grimnade on the Calyrex puts him in a phenomenal position to apply a lot of pressure with the Astral Barrage on that next turn.
Especially because he's got the Indeedee in the back now and can overwrite the grassy terrain and kind of just mitigate the fact that Rillaboom has potentially Fake Out here, and just be able to get that big Astral Barrage or Expanding Force onto both these targets. And because that will be boosted as well with that Grimnade boost already boosting the special attack on Shadowrex Colorado, it's going to be able to pick up a knockout on potentially both these Pokemon the next turn. So, you know, Alejandro done an amazing job to kind of pin Gabriel here and make it very difficult for him to get a grip in this match. And you see the importance of the terrain here, right, coming down to this last turn potentially.
Yeah, it's one of these variables that we've got in the Pokemon video game at the moment. You have weather, you also have terrain as well. And exactly as you called it there, Lee, the Indeedee is able to switch in, override that grassy terrain and kind of nullify the damage output that the Rillaboom can do with its grass-type moves. It also stops any potential Aqua Jets coming out from that Urshifu, but those are highly unlikely in the Sun. It does, however, detect, so not going to take the damage from the Calyrex, but Calyrex will be able to target down still as it is a double target attack onto that Rillaboom, and thanks to the Grimnade boost as well, and a critical hit just for style points from Alejandro's Calyrex, going to be able to pick up the KO against that Rillaboom, giving Calyrex a Nulla Grimnade boost as well. Indeedee being in such a great position where it can just follow me as well into this next turn, Lee.
Yeah, follow me or just give a helping hand, because the Urshifu can't utilize anything other than you know, can't utilize Aqua Jet here, so it is pretty much over. The Indeedee switch in is so key here for this last turn. It prevented the double up from the Rillaboom and potentially the Urshifu into that Calyrex, and kind of allowed it to operate like Alejandro has done in previous games that we've seen.
To game 2 and see exactly how they're going to be able to adjust. We already know about the flexibility on Gabriel's team. It's going to be interesting to see how he maybe changes things up, but I see a Rillaboom and a Zacian jumping out once again into the fray from Gabriel, and then on the opposing side from Alejandro, Calyrex and Indeedee. So not a lot changing up here, Lee. I wonder if it's going to be a very similar game 2 to game 1.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not going to see the Rillaboom Gigantamax this turn, although, you know, you could see the logic in it in that game 1, but it didn't quite work out for Gabriel as he wanted. And I think, like we've just mentioned, I think if you are able to Gigantamax the Colossal, you're going to get a lot more kind of out of it, rather than the Rillaboom that you saw having to switch out. And the thing is with the Rillaboom here, it is almost forced to lead to prevent that Psychic Terrain from going up turn 1. The thing that you have to be wary of with the Calyrex, of course, is now being aware that the potential double up into that slot could be a thing, but you've got the redirection to kind of support you here. You just need to try and get around potentially a Fake Out as well. So I would imagine we'll probably see Alejandro kind of adjust his board position. Maybe I don't suspect we'll see as a rash a kind of double switch here, but you can never tell, because he does still have offensive pressure here with the Shadow Rider Calyrex. He could go for a helping hand, he could keep it in and just get some big damage onto both these as threats on Gabriel's side of the field.
And we've got to remember as well that Calyrex has now revealed that Mud Shot, you know, one of those moves to be able to lower the speed, but also something that can be turned into a max move as well. Apply a lot of pressure to something like that opposing Zacian as well. However, we are going to see the Dynamax come up on the Calyrex Shadow Rider here, always jumping into a beautiful form, and this is where we saw Alejandro deal so much damage in the games featured yesterday. There's a helping hand coming out from Indeedee, and it's going to be the Max Quake coming out from the Calyrex. I am sure this is targeting right down into that Zacian with the helping hand boost. It is enough to be able to pick up that clean one-hit KO and also get the boosts.
Yeah, such a good call there about the Mud Shot and the max move as well, and kind of getting around the potential fake out support from the Rillaboom that it has access to, and also by removing the Zacian is such a huge turn. This is one of the really key reasons why Shadow Rider Calyrex is a really offensive threat. Now the problem is here that the Rillaboom, Gabriel taking a nice opportunity to say, well, if I lose Zacian here, I am going to get the knockoff with Rillaboom and put it in range for maybe a Grassy Glide to pick up the knockout the next turn. Now you've got to worry as well at the same time that you're going to have to contend with redirection from the Indeedee, so nothing is really safe this turn. But are you? The thing is, if you're going after the Indeedee with the redirection, you got to make sure that you are taking it out in 2 turns, because you're going to lose another Pokemon potentially this time around. The Rillaboom likely to go down this turn, and the Urshifu would be left. But you can never tell what's going through these players' mind in such a kind of high stakes match.
That's the thing, it's so hard to stop this Calyrex now, particularly with the first Grimnay boost. Grassy Glide is going to go into that Indeedee being redirected, not enough to take it under 50%. And the Max Mindstorm, a great play here coming out, going down into that opposing Rillaboom. Going to be able to reset the terrain and bring the Psychic terrain into effect. That just protects the Pokemon from any potential Aqua Jets here, and also stops Grassy Glide from coming out in that next turn. The Urshifu is going to go for that Surging Strikes into the Indeedee. It's going to be guaranteed its 3 critical hits, and it looks like it is going to be enough to pick up the KO against it. But it does just stop that priority against that opposing Rillaboom. And Rillaboom having an item like the Assault Vest there was critical to be able to survive that attack and stop a second Grimnay boost.
Yeah, that's the big thing, I think, especially because you've probably, like we were saying, you've got 1 turn to utilize the Follow Me, and the double up has to knock out the Indeedee. Otherwise, if the Indeedee sticks around at least 1 more turn, then the Shadow Rider Calyrex is kind of free to attack again with that redirection support. But getting the Psychic terrain up, like you say, it kind of takes away the option of the Grassy Glide there. But there is still the possibility of potentially Colossal in the back for Gabriel, and he still has access to that play of going for Aqua Jet into potentially the Rillaboom slot, switching in the Colossal. It's not preferable because you kind of want the Colossal to be maxed when you're doing that to reduce the damage, but it is an option in such a kind of pinned position here that Gabriel's finding himself in.
I mean, Alejandro bringing the Whimsicott onto the field now. We know that Whimsicott can utilize that Tailwind button. Any of those moves that don't sort of cross across the battlefield in Psychic terrain are still going to be able to be activated by Whimsicott. So things that can change weather like Sunny Day or, Helping Hand, Tailwind, Whimsicott can still activate those. And, you can help out your Calyrex by going for a Helping Hand, or you can always set up that Tailwind. But Calyrex deciding to play defensively on this particular turn, goes for that Max Guard, and Whimsicott actually going to go for the Moonblast, a great move choice to target down into the fighting type of the Urshifu, and again, super effective damage, taking it right down to its Focus Sash, making it a little bit more vulnerable in these next couple of turns. Surging Strike's unable to find its mark thanks to the Max Guard, and Rillaboom going for that other knockoff into the Max Guard as well. So a really safe turn there for the Whimsicott. Yes, the Dynamax is over for Alejandro, but I still think, thanks to the fact that the terrain is in effect, this Calyrex is looking so strong.
Yeah, and Alejandro's played that beautifully here. The Max Guard there, perfect, because that the Focus Sash is on the Urshifu. So if you don't protect the Shadowrex Calyrider there, then you're gonna lose it. So to preserve it, you take the Urshifu down to its Sash, and then you don't need to pick a target the next turn because your Dynamax turn's finished, and you've got access to your double target attacks, either Expanding Force or the Astral Barrage, which are going to make easy work of both the Rillaboom and the Urshifu here. And it really limits the ability to kind of switch anything in the back from Gabriel, because he's just, anything that comes in on the Calyrex is just going to take huge damage. It's already got a boost from that Grimnay boost, and it's about to get potentially another 2 here, Lou.
Oh, it's going to be a formidable thing, this Calyrex. Urshifu wisely detecting in the face of it, but I want to know what this Whimsicott is going for. It is indeed going for the Tailwind, boosting up the speed. No need to Helping Hand when you're down against Pokemon on such low HP. And Calyrex going for that Expanding Force, actually going to be able to catch the Rillaboom and indeed get itself a Grimnay boost. Urshifu able to hang on for another turn, but I don't think there's really a lot that Urshifu can do here to stop itself getting KO'd on the next turn.
No, not really. I mean, it'll be interesting to see who Gabriel's last Pokemon is. You've got to imagine it probably is the G-Max Colossal here that could potentially come in. So even though the Psychic terrain is in effect, you've still got the play where you can potentially proc the weakness policy here and the Steam Engine by, hitting into yourself. It doesn't affect you kind of self-targeting your partner Pokemon, so that play is still possible. But with the Tailwind in effect, is the Calyrex too fast? Because it is one of the fastest fastest restricted Pokemon, not only restricted Pokemon, but Pokemon in general that we got access to. So with that double speed boost, you would imagine it's probably gonna still outspeed the steam engine on the Colossal, and then it can still go for that mud shot, which, you know, with these Grim Nair boosts that it's got access to, might be enough against this 4 times a week ground type in Gmax Colossal.
This is where things get too intense, Lee. My heart is already racing about which Pokemon is going to be the faster here once the steam engine gets activated onto that opposing Colossal. But the Tailwind could, like you said, come in so clutch with that Calyrex. We just got to see exactly how it has been trained. Maybe more sort of defensive investment has been put into it. Whimsicott is going to go for the helping hand, however, wants to make sure that whatever move the Calyrex is going for, it's going to be dealing its biggest potential. Urshifu fails to get the second detect. There wasn't even an Aqua Jet coming out there. Goes for the expanding force. Wow. Helping hand boosted in the terrain with the Grim Nair boosts. Absolute devastation. That is the Gigantamax Colossal, and it got taken down in one shot by the Calyrex. Amazing play by Alejandro and his Pokemon here.
Incredible play there, and I think the Shadow Rider Calyrex picked up every knockout there. Was that my mistake?